Welcome back to Fix It to Grow It, the business podcast about optimizing your processes and the value of your people. My name is Dave Kislick, and I'm noticing a trend. If you've been keeping up with my podcast, then you might have noticed a through line too. Some big topics that get covered pretty regularly. Communication, leadership, and understanding. But what do I mean by these three? Well, for communication, I'm including how we share information with others, how we create clarity and shared knowledge, and the choices that we make, the delivery, the tone, the setting, the vocabulary, the method. For leadership, we've looked at what makes a good leader when it comes to valuing your employees. We've looked at how leaders will introduce change or new ideas to their team. And leading by example with both your actions and your words. For understanding, I mean recognizing when we make mistakes and how we address them. Trying to learn and care about what others think or want. Being open and honest with others to help them understand what matters to us. Being curious, seeking to know more, rather than thinking we have the right answer every time. Now, there are plenty of different ways to describe these ideas, like emotional intelligence, or engagement, team building, so on and so forth. But no matter how you describe it, it really comes down to how we as human beings interact and work together. Personally, I think that all leaders, even the ones doing it right now, should make these topics a focus of their daily practice and workplace culture. And to that end, my guest today gives us even more ideas of how to do just that. Keri-Lynne Shaw, or KL as she likes to go by, is a fractional chief people officer revolutionizing salary negotiation and career growth. KL has mastered the nuances of compensation dynamics and is dedicated to empowering people to recognize their market value and negotiate with intent. With extensive experience in HR, KL has guided countless professionals to secure the pay that they deserve, and has become the go-to expert educating professionals on articulating their value and framing negotiations with mutual benefit, where everyone wins. Through her company, The Salary Bump, KL seeks to empower people to truly understand their worth on the market. Now, we end up talking not just about salary negotiations, but dive into how these issues raise even bigger challenges, like improving management skills and our approach to managing teams, how we approach organizational transparency, or employee retention and satisfaction. Now, KL has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and it was not only an educational conversation, but a meaningful one, both as a leader and as someone who champions improvement. So grab your notepad for this one, and I'll see you again after the interview. Welcome, Keri-Lynne. So glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So I know I spoke a little bit about who you are and what you do in the intro, but I would love to hear it in your own words. So please, for our viewers, what's your deal?
What's my deal? Oh my gosh, that's such an interesting question. My path has not been a straight one. I would say none of what my career ended up being was anything that I thought it would be. And I actually hope that's inspirational for people, because a lot of people feel like they're supposed to have it all figured out. And they're supposed to have this grand map and grand plan on what, the future is about. And many people do, and they stick to it, and it works really well for them. All the power to them. But I was never that person. So I would say I never realized I would be an entrepreneur, but I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So I sold cars to pay for college, and I had this incredible passion for helping people connect and getting them really excited about whatever it was I was selling, whether it was cars or other luxury products that I sold. I was really good at sales and I really loved the relational side of it. So that was a foundation and that took me so far in my career. So highly recommend everybody to do a stint in sales, wherever that is in your career. But it really helped me to identify what I brought to the table was very much about me and thinking on my feet and figuring out how I was going to connect with my audience. So that has served me so well in every aspect of what I've done. So fast forward, I fell into HR. It was a total accident. I did not know how to spell HR. I came to it because my company said, "Oh, you're high potential, and we think we want to just throw you to the wolves." And that's how they used to manage their high potentials. Super, not really, but worked well. I didn't sink. I was able to swim. And I realized that HR is actually where I belong. And then fast forward, I became a chief people officer, had a really great run, did a bunch of different roles in HR, and I ended up becoming a professional coach. And it was that turning point where I said, oof, there's something here. There's more to this story, and there's more to my story. And becoming a coach, they really strip you down for you to be able to support each other. I think we had over 500 hours of coaching as part of the certification. And I did not realize that. I went in completely naive. Like everything I've ever done in my life, I went in with just my eyes wide open and not having any expectations and just going for it. Didn't realize what a transformational experience that would be for me personally. And it just got me thinking about what's my purpose. And I changed my trajectory, I would guess, a little bit because I wanted more. I was hungry for more and I wasn't willing to accept anything less. So, yeah, fast forward to today, I launched a company, never thought in a million years that that's what I would do. And I'm having more fun than I've ever had. And I just try to take every experience as just that. What can I learn from this? How can I grow? And those are two of my big values. So that's
Isn't it funny
a
how
little
that
about
works
me.
out? That like you don't know you're going to get here and then you get here. And you spoke directly to me, by the way, with the not knowing what to do in college, the whole life path. Uh, Plenty of my friends knew they wanted finance, they wanted law, they wanted. So I completely empathize. And I also agree with the sales comment. I worked in retail for a number of years and then also retail services. The skills that you learn in the service industry and in the sales industry are invaluable. So right there with you.
Thinking
So,
on your feet, Dave, think about hospitality too, like with the fact that you've got to solve problems really quickly.
oh
And you
yeah.
don't always have somebody who can help you with that. And when it comes to sales and commission, it's all on you. So of course you take sales courses and your manager may or may not help you, but you've got to figure it out. And that's sort of the scrappy side of entrepreneurship that has been really intriguing. But yeah, hospitality is another one. I love that.
So, all right, you started your own business. You got where you didn't realize you were going. What does that look like now?
Well, it launched on Valentine's Day. So just a few months ago, I
Congratulations.
started, thank you. I started the birthing process, if you will, about a year ago because I really wanted to create something that was accessible for everyone. So I have two different ways that people can work with me. One is one-on-one, and the other is a digital program. So the birthing process was really this digital program that I needed to get all the thoughts out. I've been doing it for a decade. I just needed to get it all on paper and figure out how to modularize it and how to bring it to life. And of course, the filming process and all that. So that was about a 10-month birthing process. In the meantime, I had been coaching for over a decade. I just never monetized it. And I thought to myself, this could be a cool retirement gig. Maybe I do this kind of coaching in retirement because I loved it. And I didn't ever seek it out. It's just people would say, oh, you should talk to KL. My son's graduating from college. Would you help him find his next role, or would you help find an internship? So many people would send people to me, and it was really where I had the most fun. So I built this program, and I can say with my whole heart, I've truly never had more fun in my entire life, because there's this big aspect of helping people unlock their potential is a big part of my purpose. And to be able to help them connect the dots on doing something that gives them this feeling of purpose and passion, and connecting the dots on what they do in their career. It doesn't have to be this separate, my life and my career. Like, you can actually have both if that's what you want. And the factor on money, which I learned over my years to have a different relationship to money. I looked at it from the perspective of, I'm going to have growth, impact, learning. Those are my values. But I didn't know that I could have that and the money to go along with it. So this piece of thousands of interviews I've given that I have had over my career as a chief people officer, so many people did it wrong. And so over those years, I learned about from the ones that did it right. And I'm bringing that to the world so that they can actually have the tools to be able to have a nice conversation around compensation and a package, and that they are deserving of that, because many people don't realize that they are.
So I think, first of all, oh my God, nobody knows what they're actually worth until they're 20 years down the road and then can say, oh, yeah, I should have been charging more there, or I could have asked for more here, or any of that. How do you teach someone? I guess, what are the skills involved? What are the processes? What are those moments of clarity that help someone understand their own value?
Well, first of all, normalizing the conversation about money. So this is something that actually companies have policies against it. So I have a friend who works for a big pharmaceutical company in Canada, and it's in their policy book. They're not allowed to talk about salaries and share. This is so highly unfortunate, because the more we can start normalizing it, the more we can get access to what's happening around us. So that's step one. Step two, it's also, from my perspective, really on the company to create transparency around what does career and financial development look like within our organization, and what's our compensation philosophy. That wasn't your question, but I do believe that this is a responsibility of all organizations, and it's something that I do on the fractional HR side, and going in and helping companies with that. But some of the things, so first of all, I help people understand their relationship to money. Is your relationship to money phrases like filthy rich, or it's greedy if I ask for more? The company might not think that I'm interested in the role, that it's more about the money. So there's this greed and scarcity mindset. And so we do work on, what does scarcity look like versus abundance look like? And scarcity right now in today's environment is around the job market. And so many people are afraid that the job offer will get pulled if they say something wrong, do something wrong, like, I got this far and I need a job, so I can't lose this opportunity. I got to pay my bills. And so there's people are keeping themselves small for real reasons, by the way. These are real reasons. But helping people to understand, what's interesting about my background as a chief people officer is I know what the person on the other end is thinking. So I'm blowing the doors off of the part that is scary for people, and that HR is expecting you to walk through that door. So giving them a little bit of breathing room to help them understand. And then once we have a different association to money, we start to talk about it and do the homework on it so they can understand what they're leaving on the table. So we do market value. I do market value research in the city that they're in the roles that they're in. We do all these comparisons. they start normalizing the conversation in their network. And then I teach them how to have a win-win conversation around it so that it's not this, I'm going in for battle, because it's for many people, and for me, for a lot of my career, it was as well. It's just this awkward conversation because, again, money, it's icky. It's got this
Stigma.
connotation around it. So, and then the last thing I would say, the fourth thing, is helping people understand that there's so much more beyond this discussion around salary. That, like, the compensation list that adds up to your package is so significant that people only, when they get an offer made to them, it's usually three things: salary, maybe a bonus, and PTO. They don't say anything about healthcare in your offer letter. They don't say anything about potentially personal development, home office stipend,
Hmm.
car stipends, gas, potential healthcare benefits. They don't talk about all the levers, sign-on bonus, severance being included in your letter. So there's this plethora of items that we talk about. So if the salary conversation doesn't go exactly the way they wanted, we can talk about all the other elements that help make up the greater compensation package, and give them a little bit more breathing room to say, oh, okay, so I don't have to go into battle, and there are other things that we can put on the table. I'll give you just an example, Dave. I just helped an automotive technician who just received his master certification, which they are very hard to come by. Dealers do not want to lose these people, and the turnover rate is more than 50% for
Wow.
technicians. It's huge. So he was very excited about it, loves the dealership that he's part of. And so we put together this really creative package for him to go and talk to his leaders about. And we framed it in such a beautiful way that, again, it was a win-win conversation, how excited he is about the company, about his growth, about the certification, and about what this now means from a growth perspective inside the organization, because he's reached the pinnacle. So where does he go from here? He
Right.
doesn't necessarily want to be a GM, or he doesn't necessarily want to be the service manager. He loves what he does.
Right.
So we got him a 40% increase,
Wow.
and we did that with he's an hourly employee, so we got more money per hour. We got 10 additional days of PTO, which, by the way, is real money in his pocket because he's an hourly worker. So he gets paid while he goes on vacation, actually, not like many corporate employees where they take their laptop on vacation and they don't actually,
Yep.
they pay you to go on vacation. We got them to throw in a car insurance and gas, which, by the way, was over $1,500 a month out of pocket for him, and
Wow.
a layup for the company because they have a million demos.
Exactly.
And they rolled this out, and we got also a stair-step bonus program because based on how much more he delivers, he gets to earn more.
Okay.
And they rolled it out to the entire dealership community. And it was such an incredible example. So it's not only CEOs where we're negotiating big time equity and big time salaries. It's also every level can be really creative.
So I'm glad you mentioned this example because it brings up two really curious things for me. Number one, why is the turnover rate so high in this position if it is so desired and in demand? Why are companies not doing what I'm not going to say what they need to do? I'm going to say what we feel they should be doing to actually retain these employees. And then the secondary part of that question is if the company that he, got involved with and that did this whole package based on your recommendations and you're working with this guy, if they rolled it out to the entire community of employees, why didn't they before now? Why didn't it make sense to them that, oh, we could take care of our employees better now and actually be better in the long term?
Dave, all my years as a leader and a people leader, there's one fundamental massive issue that we face, and that is we have a leadership problem. We have emotional intelligence challenges, and we have challenges with leaders in not knowing how to have conversations with people. There's fear in having conversations around that maybe are perceived difficult. And money is maybe also equally as awkward for them. And maybe they didn't know that they could. Maybe they didn't know that this was a priority. It's, from my perspective, really the fundamental root cause is a lack of leadership. So if we can get more leaders to realize that we can have great conversations around career development. One of the biggest reasons why, two big reasons why employees leave companies. One, they don't feel valued, and that is not just around the money, but money is a very big factor. And they don't see that they have career future and opportunities. So it's the leaders that are not having these conversations. It's not HR didn't create a career map for me, because by the way, how do you create a career map for thousands of employees? It's not easy. It requires the person getting in the driver's seat of their career, and it requires the leaders having open conversations around, how are you? Tell me how you're feeling today. What's going on for you? Anything, anything you want to share? What's getting in your way? How can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? How can I help you get networked? Let's talk about your career. What do you see for yourself? And you customize your approach to each individual person. Someone might say, I am happy as a clam, and I don't want to go anywhere. I want to sit in this role for the rest of my career. I'm so happy. I don't want to go anywhere, but I do want to continue to develop myself. So maybe I want to become a coach. Maybe I'd like to take some training on X, Y, or Z. These are conversations that you need to have as a leader, because I could assume that Dave wants to be Senior Vice President of Finance, and he's very happy being an accountant. He doesn't want to be the SVP of Finance. He doesn't want to lead a team. So you have to have these conversations. So fundamentally, I think this is the big problem. And it takes a brave person like this guy to come forward and to partner with them and say, hey, listen, I want to partner with you. This is a company I want to stay at for the long term, but I want to feel like I continue to grow here, and that is growth financially as well. So what does that look like for us?
So makes total sense, I have to say, to begin with. Why should an employer, not the employee, but why should an employer come to you and say, we need to be better at this? We need to actually, do the leadership that you're talking about, the open conversation, the understanding that different people need different things and want different things. How do we get employers from the current state of affairs, which is really just, we have our hierarchy, we have our structure, we know what we want. Do you fit into that? How do we get them to change to this combined feeling of, let's get there together, and specifically on the compensation package?
Yeah, well, first of all, they have to look at their retention rates, and they need to see why people are leaving. So part of the issue, and what companies aren't always looking at, is what's the culture and how do our people feel here? And if the reasons for leaving are, we don't talk about my career development and I don't feel valued, whether you don't trust me, whether it's about money, whatever those factors are, lift up the hood and figure out what's going on inside your organization. So it can be an employee survey, it can be a consultant coming in and doing interviews, it can be all sorts of different factors, but really look at what's happening inside your organization and ask yourself, how do we fix this? So I've done this in several organizations. In one, there was a 50% turnover rate with a specific group inside the organization. So we got to the root cause, and then we solved the problem, which really came down to onboarding and training. People were leaving. You could see they were leaving within the first 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. The bulk of the people were leaving, and we figured out why. So we solved it. So it's really just sitting down and looking at the data and understanding it. And I think humanizing your approach again as a leader and understanding, what do people actually care about? So if people are leaving because they don't feel valued and they don't have a career here and they don't feel they have the financial, you're not taking care of me financially, companies can look in the mirror and say, okay, what are our values as a company? trust, transparency, you name it. If transparency is one of our values and we don't have a compensation philosophy and we haven't shared that with our organization, well, we're not living our values. So you got to look at what it is that you stand for and are you really living it? And compensation is an area where you don't have to wait for the state law to tell you that you have to post what the ranges are. There's only 8 states that do this. Well, get ahead of it. Actually be one of those bold leaders that goes out and say, no, no, we actually have a comp philosophy. It matters to us. It may or may not be what every employee wants to hear, by the way. Don't misunderstand me that everybody's getting a raise. If you work with me, you do. But if you're inside the company, you're not all getting a raise. And this is okay. But I know where I stand. I know where the company stands. And if I don't like that, I can make a conscious decision. But if I don't know where I stand, I make all sorts of stuff up in my head about what working here looks like and what it doesn't. It's just being transparent and having these conversations. So if there's one thing companies can do, would be look in the mirror, look at what your values are, and start talking about your philosophy and compensation. I can bet, Dave, percentage. What is the percentage I want to put out on the table? I would bet the percentage of companies that actually have a compensation philosophy extremely low.
I
I'm going to bet not more than 25%. I'm making a bold statement and it could be way off, but I've worked with one company in my entire career that has had a compensation philosophy. And you knew where you stood, you knew where you were going, you knew how you could get there and what steps you could take to get there. And you either were in or you were out. If you wanted more, you might job jump, which by the way, people who job jump make 55% more on average than people that stay loyal. I'm not promoting that people run and go find a new job. The job market is a little finicky right now,
oh yeah.
but people are leaving a lot of money on the table. And yeah, I think there's just so many different ways that people and companies can do it different. Now, I would flip that over because I'm a big believer in not waiting for somebody to do something for me. And I encourage this with every employee and every company I've ever been and all of my clients. It's just your job to get in the driver's seat. Nobody is going to care about your career more than you. No one. So unless you're driving these conversations, they are likely not happening. So what actions can you take? Could you ask your leader, what is the compensation philosophy here at our company?
Mhm.
Could you ask your HR partner, could you help me understand how I fit in and how I can continue to grow here? I'd love to continue to, network and I'd love to grow my career and want to know what that looks like. People have to start challenging and asking those questions for the conversation to start happening.
I want to add to that about not only being in the driver's seat for your own compensation and your own well-being as an employee, but also about the transparency aspect. One of the major retailers that I worked for somewhat recently, uh, they didn't have what I would call a transparent package. But I went to the GM and said, "Hey, I'm on track. I'm on, the way to becoming a manager myself. What are my opportunities? What are my values as I move up? What am I actually going to be looking at?" And he was willing to have that conversation with me, to his credit. So it wasn't a lack of willingness, but a lack of realizing that it should just be displayed. Like, why can't we have that information out for all to see instead of having to force someone into an awkward closed door conversation?
Yeah.
So I really, really agree with you on the percentage of people, or excuse me, of companies that have an actual planned out, transparent compensation package. And I would challenge all of you business leaders and owners and C-suite members, watching this, that take another look at your package, take another look at how you talk about this information. Are you doing so freely and openly? Or are you waiting for someone to come to you before even having the conversation because it's just not high up on your priority list? And then
Yeah.
let's take it a step further, expand that to all of your employee services. Expand that to all of how your employees work together and the team dynamics, the communication structures, the HR structures. It matters in every step, every spot, every area of your business. So thank you, Keri-Lynne, for bringing that up, because it is so important and it's
Yeah.
so easy to get caught in the weeds. I know I do too. When I'm working on a major project, it's very easy to get caught on step 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we, and lose sight of the bigger picture of what's really important in the grand scheme. So great hip check, get us back in that mindset. Thank you for it.
You're
And
welcome, Dave. I would just say that it brings us back to the point that you asked about why this isn't happening. It's fundamentally, it still comes down to leadership for me. And what companies don't understand, which is what is so shocking to me, is that it's so basic. When people feel valued and there's trust and there's transparency and there's communication, all the things you just said, they execute greater business results. Like, hello,
yes,
it's like, please, this is not rocket science. Like, this equation actually works. So why is it so hard for companies, or why is it? I will be honest, a lot of my career, I feel like I beat my head against the desk because it was like having to convince leaders that this was important. And it was just always really disheartening to me. And why it's so much more interesting coming in as a fractional as opposed to being the chief people officer inside the company. They listen to you differently as a
yes.
consultant, but it's so interesting why this is not prioritized. I honestly can't fathom it.
I have an idea. And the example that I'm going to give is the term soft skills. Soft skills have killed for a whole generation the concept of being personable, being actually human in dealing with other people, in knowing how to approach a situation and get to the root of it and really understand what people care about and need and why. These were never things that were valued in business. It was the hard skill, the technical skill, the ability to do the job as written or as required. And I think that that focus away from, again, what we call soft skills created that gap of knowledge. And I think the same thing is true on this subject, that it has been pushed to the side because it wasn't made a priority early on. And I mean, the statement that I hate more than anything is this is always the way we've done it. It's so pervasive. It just
Yeah.
exists. So I think that is a major factor
It
as to
is, Dave.
why people don't value it now. And
It is.
hopefully, with you and with all of the other people out there who are like minded, we can ultimately change that and
Yeah.
have a more successful and happier work culture, work life, working community.
Yeah. Whenever I talk about soft skills, it's like in quotes. They're actually hard. And that's why
Yeah.
people avoid them because they don't want to deal with hard. They don't want to dig in and deal with feelings. And oh, it means, there's fear in that. So I understand it. I'm not saying that, it's so easy.
Right.
But I think again, if you're putting yourself in a leadership role or your company is putting you in a leadership role, you have this responsibility to peel that back and to do the work. My friend Lindsay Dowd, she has a beautiful podcast called Heartbeat for Hire. She and I talk about this all
Wait,
the time. And
did you
she
just
calls
name drop
them,
a podcast on my? No, I'm kidding.
I did, Dave. Because you know what? Good podcasts need to stick together.
Absolutely.
Um, and she calls them power skills.
Ooh.
I love that she recoined it because I don't like even the word hard because hard insinuates that, oh, it's going to be a big battle to get through it. No, they're power skills because once you learn them, you will be unstoppable. And so will your people. And I think the world is expecting so much more from us today,
Mm-hmm.
and they're actually tolerating a lot less. Generationally, I think Gen Z is not going back into the office, friends. So the statistic I just read, about 95% of CEOs that think everybody's back in the office by 2025, think again. You can force people back in and, do these silly videos and demand like the finance industry has done. It will not fare well for you because they will exit. You will lose your best talent unless you get your head out of you know what
Yeah.
and start actually looking at how do we create an environment where people are inspired and motivated to do their best work. And that shouldn't matter where we do it. So this is another one that I could talk about all day. It's incredibly frustrating that we
Well,
fall back to that trap.
I'm going to jump in. A quick point of order. I'm going to get the podcast information from you of your other friend because we want to put that in the description here so everyone can go check that out too. Ideas are important to spread, so we need to do so. But instead of getting caught on that topic forever, I do want to pivot because you have just opened up your own business, and this is a growth minded podcast. So I want to know what your plan is. I want to know what you have found are the most interesting parts of starting the business and growing it, and where you see hurdles coming, where you see, oh, I wish I had known this before, all the ins and outs, because there are going to be a lot of people watching who I think are thinking about starting on their own, or who are maybe just getting out there and looking for similar folks in similar situations. So please give me a little bit of story about that.
Sure. So, a couple of lessons. If I were to look back on my journey, I was always on LinkedIn as obviously an HR professional. I had quite a few followers, but I did not understand the power of LinkedIn. So, I would say my number one piece of advice is do not sleep on this platform. And whether you're a potential business owner, whether you're an employee, a leader, a student, doesn't matter what level you're at, if you don't have a personal brand on LinkedIn, you are behind the eight ball. And by that, I mean, you don't have to be posting every day on LinkedIn, but to have a personal brand and to have some thought leadership does a couple of things for you. One, it gets you exposure to other organizations. Two, it gets you exposure to recruiters. If you are active on LinkedIn, recruiters see you. And I advise everyone should take every single call from a recruiter, just to get an idea of what the market is like, what's happening out there. It could be your dream job, the financials around it, so you can start to build your story around your market value. This is the most incredible platform, and I really underestimated it. So if I could do it over again, when I started building my brand, 13 months ago, I would have started posting on LinkedIn on a regular basis. I didn't start until October, so I started to then generate my real following in October, and that has been just so incredible. I just wish I had done that sooner. So I would say it is never too late to start, but start. And even if you're a student and you don't know what, you don't have much to say, talk about something that really inspired you, or an article that inspired you, or comment on other people's stuff that you're following that is intriguing. Just start on LinkedIn. I would say that would be the one thing. I would say from a business standpoint, I built two separate channels. One was my one-on-one, as I said, and one was my digital program. I did the digital program that I think was more accessible price-wise. There's a price difference. And I was kind of surprised, Dave, that more people are coming to me for one-on-one than the digital program. And that actually really surprised me because the price is quite different. And so I'm in this place of trying to figure out, do I promote the digital program at a real entry price so that I can impact more people, that then they can come to me one-on-one if they want to. So that's kind of where I'm at, just in contemplating. But I would say iterate, 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 iterate. Don't be afraid to pivot. If something, you thought something was one thing, can always move in a different direction, other than really establishing my values of the company, what I stand for. That was really important to me, and that should not change. The rest of it, I'm really good with pivot. Like, I am one of the most resilient people you will ever meet. And I'm okay with saying, no, that didn't feel right, or that didn't work. Maybe I'm not as patient as I could be. So how long do I give it before I pivot? That's just something that I need to learn, to be a little bit more patient. But I would say if it's something that really inspires you, just go for it. Get started, start playing, start talking about it, see what resonates for people.
Well, all right. I had two reactions from all of that because there was a lot in that answer. First, with the branding idea, could we extrapolate that and say, in fact, not just for your personal brand as an entrepreneur starting out, but as a company, as anything, whether it's on LinkedIn or not, having a clear idea of this is who we are is going to be more successful than just the company that starts selling something or the company that just starts offering a service. Is that where you're going with it as well?
Yeah, it was more along the lines of me,
Okay.
you. What is your personal brand? So the salary bump is my company, but
Yep.
the brand is me.
Got it.
It's me, right? It's me that's building trust with people. It's me that people are wanting to or not wanting to connect to. So that personal brand, and we all have one, and it's just finding your voice, whether that's just a thought leadership voice, something that inspires you that you read, or that you want to start a business. But anybody in any role, right? If AI is intriguing to you, you want to write about AI because you're so fascinated by it, you want to share what you know, doesn't matter whatever it is that you're passionate about, but building that personal brand on LinkedIn, in the event you want to start your business, or you've already started, or
Yes.
you want to find a new job, or you've already started, or you get laid off, or you've already started, you already have a network. That would be my second really important piece of advice. Whether you're a business owner, or want to be business owner, entrepreneur, want to be entrepreneur, working inside an organization, leader, doesn't matter. Nurturing your network over your career is one of the most important things you can do. Almost every job I ever received was through my network. It was not because of a job posting. So nurturing that network, figuring out how to find people, who inspire you, how to foster those relationships. There's tons of information out there on how to do that. Making sure you check in with them every so often, making sure you show gratitude, and use that network to guide you. Ask them for permission if they would be open to be one of those key people in your life. And I tell you, there's just nothing more important than that, because those people could help you in a million different circumstances. Referral,
Mm-hmm.
job opportunity, who else in your network should I meet? And when it comes down to the fact that you get laid off, or you're in a situation where you are in a toxic environment, you need to get out, you pick up the phone, you call those friends, and I tell you, it will be a game changer for your life and your career.
I will also add to that. You'd be surprised, to all of our viewers, you would be surprised how many of your connections want to help you. It's amazing how many people have returned my calls, have said, you know what, that's not my expertise, but let me get you to this person who it is. Let me help you in a way that I can. Or simply saying, I would love to help. What do you need? So yeah, I can only agree completely with everything you're saying, Keri-Lynne, about your network. We're gonna have to do a whole other video on how to
Oh,
nurture a
I would
network.
love that. I would love that. I did just a really organic approach my whole career. If somebody would speak, I would send them a note inside my company and say, I loved what you said today. Would you be open for a coffee? And then the one thing I will also say is, so many people over my career as a leader would come and meet with me, want me to mentor them, or just want to meet. And they all started with apologizing, because I know how busy you are. Stop apologizing. The person on the other side did not say yes to this meeting because they don't have time for it.
Yes.
Don't apologize for it. maximize every second of the time that you have with these people. Learn, ask questions, be curious. How did you navigate your career? What were some of the things you failed at that you learned from? How do you navigate mistakes? What are you passionate about? A million questions. Come in curious. People love talking about themselves, Dave. They love it.
I do know. And I am already lost because I had another thing that I wanted to ask you about from the previous, but we've gone in so many directions. Uh, and that's not a bad thing. There's so much to cover about starting new, about, oh, yes, now I remember. Thank you. It was, I've been researching a new project management system and a couple of new organizational tools. And what you mentioned about something you're passionate about and it can become a thing. There's a guy who has an entire career making videos and learning content on his own for a platform he never designed, never built, was never a part of the company, but just because he got into it. And now that's his career. He's got a whole following. He's got, uh, like you do, a whole class offering of tools and tips and lessons, and then he's got free content, and you can do one-on-one coaching and all of that. But it's because he started with, this is really cool, I want to learn about it, and then use the skills that you have, those power skills that you have, to actually develop something from it. And that's his brand now. So yes, it is entirely doable. And anybody, I mean, you could turn a hobby into a real job or even just a side gig if that's all you really want. But we have to come back to the business growth aspect, because I do need to wrap things up eventually, and I want to get to our Fix It 15, which, if you're new to the channel, the Fix It 15 is a chance where I get to talk to my guest about hopefully something they would love a little input on, something that we can help them grow on. Uh, or maybe it's just something that, hey, let's hear some more perspective on this subject. So, Keri-Lynne, what's something that you, as a business owner operator and growing business owner operator, want some advice on, want to help solve, want to know more about, or just are thinking about?
Well, I mentioned it already a little bit around the digital program because I really believe, I mean, the digital program will get you 80%, 90% of the way there. It is really, really rich. It's self-guided. Of course, you need to want to do the work. I would love to find a way to get more people access to that program. And yeah, so whether it's marketing, whether it's free classes, portions of it, free modules that I could teach groups, or I'm not sure, but getting more people access to that. Should I layer on a one-on-one coaching session as part of it? It's just for your information, it's $555 today. I'm totally open on pricing if we think the pricing is not where it should be. It is so rich with data, and my average client makes between 30 and 50% more after
Okay.
working with me.
Fantastic,
So
by the way.
thank you. Yeah, it's significant. The opportunities are significant. So I've just been thinking, what are some different ways, and layering on maybe a coaching session with me when you're ready to run into the actual negotiation
Mm-hmm.
to help you close the deal. Maybe that's interesting, or maybe we change the pricing. So yeah, I'll throw that out to you and tell me what you think.
All right, I have a couple questions first, because as any good project manager knows, you have to learn as much as you can before answering. Uh, do you have any metrics on who is taking the package versus the one-on-one?
I don't at this stage. Again, as I said, I launched it on Valentine's Day,
Mm-hmm.
and um, my one-on-one clients tend to be more women,
Okay.
although I mentioned the automotive technician and
Yep.
I've worked with several men, but It's more women.
Hmm.
They're in this mid career stage where they've had maybe a couple of roles. They're ready for director level or maybe even VP level. And they're in that later 20s to later 30s sort of range, super hungry, super driven. Um, they
Okay.
are the clients that I'm having a blast with. And of course, there's a lot of senior executives that come to me as well. And it's been really interesting. I've posted a few things on LinkedIn around negotiating severance packages. And I've actually been negotiating double whammies for people. Severance package to exit their toxic environment, and then their
And then
new
the new,
package
yep.
and the new negotiation, which has been wildly successful and not something that I expected. So I'm super bespoke. Everything is customizable. But when it comes to that program, yeah,
Okay.
I can't make a judgment on it because I don't track that data. I can only tell you on the one-on-one
That's
side.
fine. That's fine. My next question, though, is in describing the package, because obviously we're not going to go to your website right now and look, in describing it, are you focusing on high level concepts and goals? Are you focusing on mid level structure of the program? Or are you primarily focusing on the nitty gritty? This is what you're going to learn. This is how you're going to do it. This is the skill, and so on.
It is all so tactical and so copy paste rock and roll, load your lips, off you go. So there's three modules. The first one is knowing your worth, knowing your value. So there's some coaching elements there. It's helping you with your association to money. That's number one. And you don't have to take that module if you want to go right for the killer, you go right for the jugular, that's fine. You can go right to module two, which is prep for the interview, because you're not going to get to the negotiation in module three if you don't get this right. So we talk about your elevator pitch. What's your red thread? How are you showing up? How are you connecting with the person on the other side? How are you having the conversation in the early stage around money if it comes up? Not to back yourself in a corner.
Mhm.
And then the third module is really specific on landing the plane and everything around negotiation. And then there's also exiting gracefully from your existing company, just some
Okay.
tips and tools, lots of worksheets. Everything is spelled out for you so, so clearly. And it's everything that you should need to be able to land the plane and land your dream job.
Okay. So hearing the answers to both of those questions and understanding a little bit more about who you're working with and in what ways and how this program is being shown to the world, there are a couple of immediate reactions that I have. I don't think they necessarily apply here, but they're parallels. I have seen a ton of promoted packages for various things. I'm sure anybody who has been on YouTube has seen ads for, get shredded quick gym membership stuff and all of the other kinds of, and we tune it out immediately. We have a predisposition now to believe that someone is trying to cheat us with a scam, then this might actually be a helpful thing. So I don't think you're running into that problem, but I bet you there's some residual back of mind if I have the choice between a one on one session, which is tailored to me, versus what everybody gets. I'm going to choose the one on one. The second thing that I'm thinking about is I don't know what the demographics are of people who are leaving their jobs currently. I don't know if it's more women or men. I don't know if there are age groups that are significantly higher than others. I do know that I forget where I read this. Uh, it is predominantly that women do not want to be seen as confrontational, so they won't engage in the negotiating as much
Yeah.
when they get to the new position or the potential new position. Could that also apply to I'd rather work directly with you than have to be one of a person in a group and then advocate for myself again? I want you to really teach
Yeah.
me and lead me through.
It's possible. Just so you also know the price difference. The one-on-one is 4,555. And that's 4 sessions. I give you a fifth bonus session that you can use anytime you want throughout the 12 months of your landing your new
Mhm.
job. Um, I'm really invested in my clients.
I
So
can
in many
tell.
cases, I give more than 4 sessions because I'm so invested in them. And there's circumstances where they are in a bad environment, we get them out of that, then we take a pause while they take the course.
Right.
So my one-on-one clients then go and take the course and do some of the homework to kind of figure out what their next steps are. And then I come back in to help with the elevator pitch and crafting those messages, but they still have to do the work on finding the right opportunity.
Okay. Of
But I open my network and because my
course.
clients are so amazing, I am, very, very, very invested. So I I don't I don't know the answer. I What comes up for me though, and what has been coming up for me is there an opportunity perhaps to use that course as a feeder to the one-on-one and lower the price and or potentially add in one coaching session with that. So,
I do think
an
those are
hour
both
coaching
viable.
session is $1,000. So that's a
Yeah.
pretty nice add-on that I would be adding. If that in fact would be a big driver, I'm not sure if that would be a closer for them.
I think you can absolutely do those things. You're right about the question, though. Is that the thing that will bring them in more? My new question to you is, what is your goal with this program? Is it supposed to be a feeder to your one-on-ones, or is it actually supposed to be the thing that you want people to do more often
Yeah,
so you have more time for whatever else or
it
whatever else you want
was.
to focus on?
It was originally. So, um, when I originally, people have been telling me for a decade I should coach full time. I do not want to coach full time. That was not my dream.
Mhm.
Although this is very different kind of coaching because
Yep.
it's super specific, and I think it's such an important topic that so many people need. Um, I designed the program so that I wouldn't have to do so much one-on-one, although I'm having a blast doing it, so it's all great. I'm happy with the direction that it's going. But yeah, I think it's not really about me. It's about them. And it's about this beautiful opportunity that um, I can help people change their lives in really incredible ways. And so there's this part of me that wants to impact the world, as not as silly as that sounds. I want more people to have the confidence to be able to walk in to have these conversations and meet their financial goals, because we all have financial goals, even if money is not your number one driver. It isn't mine. It still isn't. It was never mine. But that doesn't mean I don't have goals, that I want to retire at a certain age,
Right,
that I want to
right.
have a vacation home. I want to travel the world, do all these things. Those are things that are important to me. And so having the money to do that is part of it. So yeah, maybe it's a bit pie in the sky, but
I
I
don't, well, I'm
want
going
to
to stop
impact
you
the
there.
world.
I don't think it's pie in the sky. I think we just have to figure out what the avenue is to get there. And what it sounds like is that if this program is designed to be where people end up and all they really need, then if the program really has that taken care of content wise, then it to me seems more of a marketing issue. And I'm going to
Yeah,
go back to our sales discussion about how everyone should have some sales experience. If you build up, because clearly people are coming for your services. So if you're building up your services, I'm really good at this. Everybody has a great time. I do all these wonderful things. By the way, I have all of that right here for a lot cheaper. So building yourself up more than building up the quality of the course and saying you get all of me right here.
mhm,
So perhaps changing the direction of the marketing to be less focused on the course itself, but more of can't afford this, can't do what no problem, I've got you covered,
yeah,
rather than try this course. And then you can also do, why bother? If I know I want you, I'm going to work with you anyway.
I love that. So Dave, I have not really marketed it yet. So to
Oh,
be
okay.
totally honest, I've put it on LinkedIn only a couple of times. So it's not like I have done this massive marketing. I am not a salesy person.
Okay.
And the last thing I want is to sell someone anything. You do not need me to sell you something. If you have a need and I have something that can help you solve that, amazing. That just makes me really happy. I do not need to sell you. So my approach has really just been thought leadership on LinkedIn and increasing my following and building trust in my brand, which is me. And so I think that's why that people are coming to me one-on-one. But I appreciate what you're saying. And I think it's really looking at how I want to market it. Interesting. I also, if you're game for it, I'll give you access to my online program. I would love
Of
to get your
course.
thoughts. It only takes about 3.5 hours. The videos are all really short and snappy. The first module is a little bit more in depth, but it's like, that's the know your worth piece. That's really more the mindset work. And that's the longer portion. Of course, with the worksheets, it will take you longer, but it's not such a significant investment of time. I would love for you to take the course and tell me what you think of it. And yeah, maybe I hire you to help me figure out how to market it.
I would be happy to take a look at the course. And of course, as you say these things, I have one more idea that came to mind because you haven't been marketing it directly.
Yeah.
And you've been using LinkedIn, and we've been talking about how you build your network on there and communicating with people. And it's as simple as, I'm trying to remember your words, it's as simple as responding to a comment. You can add this in to your comments.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you agreed with my point on XYZ. I cover that and a lot more of this stuff. If you're interested, if you need help with this, I have this course. It's priced well. It does all these things. Take a look at it.
Yeah.
So you have ways of really weaving it into what you're already doing. And again, I'm using your own words. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
It just needs to be, I think, a little more upfront, a little more focused.
Yeah. Yeah. Intentional.
Exactly. That's a better word for it. Thank you.
A little more intentional, yeah. It's just been such an awesome journey. I tell you, I'm such a learner. I will grow and learn until I'm dead. I just enjoy it so much and enjoy meeting all these incredible people like you. I meet maybe 10 to 15 new people a week. It's been a cool journey. It's been a cool journey. I don't see myself going back into a traditional corporate role. Who knows? Maybe I have another one in me before I retire, but
Well,
it's been a
whatever it
blast.
is, it can't be bad at this point because you know what you care about and what matters to you, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to achieve any of that. And I'm now speaking not only to Keri-Lynne, but to all of you that yes, experience, network, growth, all of these things are tied together. So just like Keri-Lynne said, just start. So with that, I think we're going to leave it there for today because that's a great, great message to end on. And Keri-Lynne, it has been fantastic talking to you. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge, your background, what you do, why it's important, and hopefully some of the folks who are watching will either feel like that's a valuable thing for themselves to take part in, or hopefully on the bigger scale, the business leaders out there see this and say, you know what? Let's have a look at our compensation package. Let's have a look at our transparency. Let's have a look at making things better for our employees so that we can have a better bottom line, a better output, a better result, whatever that means to that business. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So much to take in. Whether you're an executive, a manager, someone on the front lines, this conversation had it all. I need to really think about the concepts of presenting information because it's a priority to do so, rather than waiting for someone to ask for that information. It's so easy to fall into that trap of just answering the question as a reaction. And I really hope that anyone watching this takes an introspective look at how we approach the idea of soft skills and why they matter so much. A huge thank you to Keri-Lynne for spending the time talking with me and for sharing her insights. Her information is down below in the description of this video, so you can reach her if you want to start learning how to negotiate for your best compensation outcomes, or if you want to learn how to move your company to a more transparent pay structure. As usual, if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe to the podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or Spotify or listening wherever you get your podcasts. I can't wait to share more methods and approaches to help you fix what needs fixing and find your own growth opportunities. See you later.